The fluorescent lights inside Hernandez auto repair flickered like dying insects trapped in glass, as Maya Thompson wiped transmission oil from her hands for the last time that night. Everyone else had gone home hours earlier to warm meals and quiet beds, but Maya stayed because overtime meant survival. At 31, exhaustion had carved lines into her face far deeper than time ever should. Her steel-toed boots were cracked, her flannel smelled of grease, and her body ached with the kind of pain that never fully heals. Outside, desert wind rattled scrap metal and carried dust through Palmdale's tired streets as she climbed into her battered 1998 Corolla and whispered a prayer to the ignition. It turned on the third try. Inside her apartment, the silence was broken only by the low hum of the refrigerator and the soft breathing of her 8-year-old daughter, Lily. Maya studied overdue rent notices, hospital bills, and a bank balance that felt like a cruel joke. As always, she turned to online listings, desperate for an escape that never seemed to arrive. That night, one listing stopped her cold. Estate auction. Former Steve McQueen property. Minimum bid $5,000. The name jolted her awake with impossible promise. Maya didn't believe in luck anymore, but she believed in broken machines hiding more than they appeared to hold. The auction listing showed only 3 lifeless photographs. A low concrete bunker framed by desert hills, an enormous garage attached by a narrow walkway, and land so empty it looked abandoned by time itself. To everyone else it was worthless. To Maya it was possibility wrapped in dust. 9 days later she stood gripping a borrowed cashier's check as the auctioneer's voice echoed across the dirt lot. Lily clutched her hand, wide-eyed and silent. The bidding stalled at $5,000. 7 seconds of stillness felt like 7 years inside Maya's chest. When another bidder called out $5,500, terror gripped her throat. 6,000 left her lips before fear could stop it. The hammer fell. The garage was hers. The drive to the property felt unreal as asphalt turned to dirt, and the desert stretched endlessly on both sides. When she unlocked the steel door, stale air rushed over her like breath from the past. That first night, they slept on cold concrete beside a small fire made from scavenged wood. In the early morning light, Maya wandered the massive garage and noticed something wrong in the center bay. A rectangular patch in the floor didn't match the rest. It was newer, different, out of place. Her instincts whispered danger and discovery in the same breath. She said nothing, but her heart already knew something waited beneath. For 8 nights, Maya returned after work, scrubbing walls, checking plumbing, and bringing the building back to life inch by inch beneath flickering flashlights. Lily laughed as water finally ran from rusty pipes, as the old stove sparked back to life, as the silence of the desert became their nighttime companion. But the floor never left Maya's thoughts. On the 8th night, with the wind moaning through steel beams and Lily chasing shadows outside, Maya slid a crowbar into the seam. Concrete resisted, then cracked with a thunderous echo that swallowed the garage. Beneath the slab was not soil, but darkness. Her breath caught as she widened the opening and revealed a steel hatch sealed tight into the foundation like a forbidden secret. Her hands shook as she lifted the second brass key from her ring. It slid into the lock as though destiny itself had guided it there. The mechanism turned with a long hiss as trapped air escaped from below. Cold breath rose from the darkness carrying scents of leather, oil, and preserved time. Concrete steps dropped into blackness. Fear and wonder collided so violently in Maya's chest she nearly lost her balance. Lily's voice floated in behind her, small and uncertain. "Mama, what did you find?" Maya closed the hatch without answering. That night she lay awake staring at the ceiling, knowing her life had already split cleanly into before and after with no way back. At sunrise, Maya returned alone. The steel hatch opened like the mouth of something that had waited decades to speak. Each step downward tightened her breath until she reached a heavy steel door at the bottom. When it opened, light exploded across flawless metal, and Maya forgot how to breathe. The underground vault stretched wider than her fear could measure. Rows of pristine machines slept beneath perfect lighting: Porsches, Ferraris, a silver gullwing Mercedes, Shelby Cobras, Jaguars, motorcycles, all preserved as though time had been frozen at the moment of perfection. Each car stood flawless, untouched by dust, silence humming around them like restrained thunder. On a central workbench rested a leather-bound journal weighted by a vintage carburetor. Maya read trembling words in unmistakable handwriting. Steve McQueen had built this place as his final sanctuary, hiding the machines that gave him peace as cancer stole his strength. If you found this, you own it all. Just let them live. Titles, photographs, restoration records, and appraisals filled metal filing cabinets along the wall. Numbers blurred as her mind tried to calculate the truth. Millions, tens of millions. And finally, a total so vast it lost meaning. Maya collapsed onto the concrete floor, overwhelmed by the impossible reality forming beneath her hands. She had not purchased shelter. She had uncovered a vault of forgotten history worth over $200 million. Reality struck quickly and without mercy. Appraisers arrived with whispered disbelief. Lawyers followed with contracts thick as textbooks. Security vehicles rolled onto the land as fences, cameras, and armed men surrounded the once silent desert. Then the lawsuits came. McQueen's estate filed first, then collectors, then auction houses demanding disclosure. As each legal storm formed, so did the offers. One man in a flawless suit arrived at the gate with bodyguards and a velvet smile. $200 million in cash, immediate transfer, end the bloodshed before it begins. Maya listened without blinking. $200 million could erase hunger forever, could buy safety for Lily that Maya had never known herself. But she remembered the journal. She remembered those words written by dying hands that wanted freedom, not vanity. She refused. That night motion sensors screamed at 2:15 a.m. as two figures tested the perimeter in the eastern hills. They fled when intercepted, leaving only boot prints in the dust. The message was unmistakable. This treasure did not belong to silence anymore. It had become prey. Fear entered Maya's life like a storm she could no longer outrun. But alongside it rose something she had never carried before: authority. For the first time in her life, she was no longer fighting to survive. She was fighting to protect meaning. The desert community watched the chaos unfold and quietly chose sides. Strangers in luxury cars were turned away from local businesses with polite smiles and empty fuel pumps. The diner always found a seat for Maya and Lily. Contractors appeared at the property offering work without immediate payment. An older woman named Dorothy shared how Steve McQueen had once taken care of the town without ever seeking praise. "He protected this place," she said, eyes steady. "Now it's your turn." But pressure intensified. Reporters appeared at Lily's school. Threats grew bolder. One man casually described Lily's daily routine as though reciting a grocery list. Cold terror entered Maya's bones. Security tightened. Lawyers pushed harder. The vault remained sealed behind steel and silence, while millions evaporated in legal fire. Yet every night Maya tucked her daughter into bed inside their new concrete home and promised safety with a voice steadier than she felt. The outside world grew sharper, louder, richer with danger, but the bond between mother and child carved a shelter no money could buy. Every flicker of fear was matched with defiance. Every shadow was met with unblinking resolve. The desert no longer felt empty. It felt like a battlefield quietly choosing a defender. Months passed beneath the weight of litigation and silence. Injunctions froze movement. Titles were challenged. Claim after claim collapsed beneath documentation McQueen had sealed with ruthless precision. Offers continued to arrive, some whispered, others threatening. Maya never wavered. One evening, long after the worst storms had passed, she took Lily by the hand and opened the vault for her at last. The underground lights rose slowly as Lily's breath caught in wonder. The cars glowed like statues carved from speed itself. "They look alive," Lily whispered. Maya smiled through tears she hadn't expected. "They are," she answered softly. In that moment, the treasure stopped being currency. It became legacy. It became trust handed across generations through steel, sweat, and preparation. Maya no longer saw the vault as a burden. It was a promise fulfilled by someone who had once stood exactly where she now stood, afraid, determined, and unwilling to let meaning die quietly. The fear that once ruled her nights loosened its grip, not because the danger vanished, but because purpose had grown stronger than terror. And for the first time since her father died, Maya felt something bloom that no lawyer, collector, or criminal could ever steal from her again: peace rooted in earned purpose. Years later, people would tell the story using numbers: the $6,000 garage, the $215 million